Tucker Carlson, mainstay of Fox News, who's been on the network for who knows how long doing different types of shows, #1 news program, quote unquote, news program in America, is now leaving Fox News. He is leaving Fox News. Now, we do not have all the details on exactly why he's leaving Fox News, whether it was Tucker Carlson saying, you know what, I'm done with this network, I'm out of here because of new restrictions you're placing upon me. Maybe somebody actually walked up to him and dared to correct him lying on his show. Maybe it was, hey, maybe you should not say on air that Ukraine has nuclear weapons like you did last week. Maybe that's not a good idea. Hey, maybe you should not say that Ukrainians are dying at a rate of 7-to-1 when it comes to military casualties, when that's completely made up. Not only is it made up, but it's Russian propaganda, specifically spread by Russian disinformation agents. Not, I mean, you could have gone and looked, it's not even a good edit, but instead he didn't, and I'm coming here to correct you. Maybe he left because of that. Maybe there was a pay dispute, or maybe it had to do with the gigantic Dominion lawsuit just slammed against the network, costing them $787 million. $787 million that they had to settle out of court. Now, we all know that they would not be offering that kind of money unless they thought there was a decent potential of this case actually dragging them through the mud and leading with them having to pay them even more money, going through a whole trial and humiliating them in the public sphere. So they settled out of court due to lies that were pushed on their network due to, in part, Tucker Carlson and a bunch of others who were trying to be subservient to the Trump cult and making sure that no matter what, even if they had to lie, even if they had to go out of their way to not correct misinformation, which was specifically instructed to them by Fox News executives, that they were going to do it in order to serve the almighty dollar and in order to serve the almighty line, the line of viewership. Line go up, keep doing it. Line go down, stop doing it. As simple as that. That's how it works over at Fox. Let's read the article. Again, we don't have a lot of information. I'm just speculating. I'm just spitballing. He could have left because he has terminal cancer, right? We have no clue. So, but let's read the little bit of information we do have from the Washington Post. In a shocking announcement on Monday morning, the Fox channel announced that primetime host Tucker Carlson is leaving the network. Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have agreed to part ways, that network said in a statement. We thank him for his service to the network as a host and prior to that as a contributor. This statement right here leaves it as vague as possible. It doesn't say we have let him go, which would insinuate that they decided we're going to tell you to leave, you're fired because of the Dominion lawsuit, because you've lied too many times. I really don't think it was out of principle, since, you know, Fox executives were telling people to not push out misinformation. It could be because, hey, in order for you guys to like recuperate funds for the Dominion lawsuit, you want to make a cut in my pay and I'm not going to accept that. Or, hey, due to the fact that we're one of the highest ranking shows in the country when it comes to cable news, I think you should give me more money. Didn't accept it. We have no clue. I'm leaning towards the Dominion lawsuit because I think that's the most obvious piece of, you know, news around Fox that we have that could have possibly contributed to that. And I mean, that's $787 million. And he was one of the main pushers of the disinformation, got them sacked, that got them getting their pockets ran by Dominion, by a voting machine company. Anyway, let's read a little bit of information we have. The announcement came less than a week after Fox News settled a defamation lawsuit brought by Dominion Voting Systems, which had sued the network for false claims about the 2020 election for $787.5 million. I know the 0.5 doesn't feel like a lot, but 0.5 is still $500,000. That's the amount of money we're working with here, where you get into the points, you get into those tiny numbers, and it's hundreds of thousands of dollars still. For 700, I love saying this number, 787
immoral, morally corrupt,
and $500,000. Wait, $787,500,000. My goodness, a lot of money. Before opening arguments were to begin, Carlson was among several on-air personalities expected to testify. And that would have been interesting because they could have got him on record and then just asked him about the lies he's pushed over the last 2 years. And this is the thing about in court, Tucker Carlson can lie as much as he wants on his network, as long as they can't hit him for slander, as long as they can't prove that he knew he was lying, which was what what's so interesting about the Dominion lawsuit, because the Dominion lawsuit was revealing these emails between Fox News employees that showed that they were lying, that behind closed doors, they knew that Donald Trump had lost the election. They knew that all of this hubbubaloo around Dominion voting system was complete bunk. They knew that Trump took the L and that the election wasn't stolen, but they still kept pushing these lies in order to retain viewership, in order to make sure they didn't criticize Donald Trump enough to scare their viewers to go over to OAN, to go over to Newsmax, especially since Donald Trump around that time was getting more and more and more critical of Fox News, especially after they were basically forced due to the fact that the election was over and they kind of had to, unless they would be just shown to completely deny reality. They had to accept the results of the 2020 election. They announced the results that Joe Biden won, and that had already angered Trump's base so much they didn't want to push any more to OAN, to Newsmax. They wanted to keep those viewers. And at the end of the day, Rupert Murdoch's one goal is to keep viewership. It isn't to spread information that informs the viewers. It isn't to spread news. It isn't even necessarily to just, make money hand over fist. It is to push a narrative and make money hand over fist. So I kind of lost the lead on that one. They do really care about money. Anyway, let's see if there's any more information here that we have from the Washington Post. Many of Carlson's private messages were released in motions filed by Dominion, revealing that the host was skeptical of many of the election fraud claims made on air by Trump-affiliated attorneys Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani. But it was Carlson's comments about Fox management, as revealed in the Dominion case, that played a role in his departure from Fox. A person familiar with the company the company's thinking told the Post, this is interesting. I was looking at all the other sources and I didn't actually, this is new information. I didn't see, it wasn't on CNN. It wasn't on AP. This is something that's just on Washington Post. Maybe they're now updating all the articles as they get more information. It was Carlson's comments about Fox management as revealed in the Dominion case that played a role in his departure from Fox. A person familiar with the company's thinking told the Post. Carlson did not immediately respond to a message asking for comment on his departure. His show, the one time Carlson actually shuts his fucking mouth. His last show this past Friday, April 21st. That was his last show. The network said that the 8 p.m. time slot, which Carlson's has held since April of 2017, 6 years, will be filled with an interim basis by rotating Fox News personalities until a new host is named. It will be called Fox News Tonight. Carlson joined Fox News as a contributor in 2009. I was 8 years old. He served as a co-host of the weekend show Fox and Friends Weekend from 2012 to 2016. But it was in the prime time that Carlson became a star, eclipsing 9 p.m. host Sean Hannity. Going down. I guess the only person when it comes to those at Fox that are excited about the Dominion case, excited by the results of everything, is probably Sean Hannity, because now his main competition has just been ousted from the network, and you're going to see him jostling and pushing and shoving, saying, I'm the veteran, I know what I'm doing, give me Tucker's slot. No matter what, though, the viewership is going to go down for Fox, man, because Sean Hannity and all the other people at Fox just do not have the same hold on the audience as Tucker Carlson does. It does not have the same fear-mongering potential and skills that Tucker Carlson has. And, I mean, they have lied before, right? They are good liars, as Tucker Carlson can be, but they're just not as good as Tucker. He's one of the best. Carlson joined Fox News as a contributor in 2009. He served as a co-host of the weekend show Fox and Friends Weekend from 2012 to 2016, but it was in the prime time that Carlson became a star, eclipsing 9 p.m. host Sean Hannity as the network's most-watched host. In 2022, Tucker Carlson Tonight averaged 3.32 million total viewers and received the largest audience in all of cable news. Again, man, he was the biggest name in cable news. I always emphasize this on my show when we talked about his nefarious lies that he pushed on his network. Whether it was even entertaining the stuff about the biolabs in Ukraine or any of the other stories, he has the largest audience on cable news, and that's what makes the type of rhetoric he pushes and the lies he pushes so negative, is because he's spreading it to the largest audience in all of America when it comes to cable news. My goodness. Million total viewers, and received the largest audience in all of cable news with the coveted 25 to 54 age range demographic. His Fox News colleagues were stunned by his departure, which seemed out of the blue. Wow, one producer wrote, we're just learning of this like everyone else. Total surprise on my end. Man, this must have been an executive closed door meeting. You know how Putin was like in a room probably with like a few Russian generals. It came to like a few guys at the top of Russian society who ultimately made the decision to invade Ukraine. It sounds like there was like a few Fox executives in a little room, maybe a light bulb on the ceiling kind of swinging, you know, a single light bulb, and they were making the decision because, you know, this is a pretty gigantic story. This is going to be talked about for days now, and the staff didn't even know in advance. Okay, so again, we don't have a lot of information to go off of, so there's only so much I can say. But let's go off of the one big piece of new information that I have that I've just learned about by reading this article again. It was Carlson's comments about Fox's management as revealed in the Dominion case that played a role in his departure from Fox. A person familiar with the company's thinking told the Post. So this could be a he got too big for his britches moment when talking in private company emails with others on staff. And if they were going to have this guy testify in a case, which if they were to not settle out of court for the whopping $787.5 million, if they were not going to settle out of court, Tucker Carlson was going to have to testify. And that means they were going to have to get him on record, which could have criminal penalties if he lied on record. He can't do it like he does on the network and just weasel out of everything, dodge this, dodge that, does everything he can to not answer a question. He can do his best to not answer a question, but he can't lie. And so they were going to get one of two results: either Tucker Carlson dodging every question, making him look terrible, making the network look terrible, or him admitting during hot and aggressive questioning by the prosecutor that he knew that he lied on the network, because they would just take his emails and match it with what he said on the network. They knew that he hated Trump privately while still praised Trump publicly, and they knew what he said about executives at the company, and then they would embarrass Fox in front of the whole nation. And they would do it in a high profile case, probably one of the largest high profile case we've had in politics since the Alex Jones case, when it comes to the issue of freedom of expression, which is how Fox News was pitching it. And so I think maybe this is just the network cutting their losses, saying, look, we had to spend $787.5 million on these bunch of fools to push lies on our network. Any amount of money we could have maybe made from pushing these lies feels like we are losing through these cases. And this is just Dominion. Tucker Carlson lies regularly on this program, like I've already talked about with Ukraine or any other number of issues. So how long is it if he's still lying? The last show he did that we talked about on this channel not too long ago, he was lying, and he was lying frequently. How long is it until Tucker Carlson again lies about somebody that he shouldn't have lied about? Slander cases are brought against Fox again, and then they have to roll out 800 million, 900 million, or possibly go to a court, have to hire the lawyers, and even if they lose, they still have to go through the whole hassle. And, I mean, if they win, they still have to go through the whole hassle, and if they lose, then they humiliate themselves. And on top of humiliating themselves, they have to pay an even larger lump sum. And so they look at all that money, they look at all the trouble that this has caused, they look at all the bad press that Fox has gotten as they're still trying to keep advertisers, they look at the image of Fox News executives, which they're trying to protect, getting dragged through the mud. They don't want Murdoch's name to be covered in any more feces. And so they make the decision, look, Fox News and Rupert Murdoch's machine has been here much longer than Tucker Carlson. The mechanisms and money-making venues and advertisers and everything that makes up Fox, the staff, has been here before Tucker was on the network. There's nothing stopping them from getting rid of Tucker and replacing him with someone else. And even if they don't get as much viewership, even if it's a milquetoast Sean Hannity, at the end of the day, maybe that'll mean no more Dominion cases being brought against them. Maybe it will mean that he doesn't drag their executives through the mud. Maybe it was a grudge to some degree, and the executives saw what he said about them and said, you know what? Screw you. You think that about us on top of causing all this trouble for us? Maybe that contributed. At the end of the day, man, people in politics are pretty egotistical, especially if you're at that level of business too. And they're at the top echelons, Rupert Murdoch level of business. People are super duper egotistical. And I feel a kinship with that as well, because I'm a streamer, and streamers are by definition egotistical, okay? You're telling others online that they should listen to you sitting in your little hole in the wall as you talk to the world from your bedroom about what any number of topic, whether it's Fortnite or politics or anything. all of this aside, Tucker Carlson's out of Fox. Somebody who's one of the biggest misinformation pushers, no, the biggest liar on cable news networks in the country, just got pushed off of cable news, off of Fox. Now, while this might make you guys go hooray, 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 and for me, this is like yoga. This is therapy, man. People have been telling me, like, Dylan, once this war's over, you need to go back home and you need to get therapy. Nah, man. I just had all of that dealt with right here, right now. But don't just think because Fox got rid of Tucker Carlson's just gone now. Tucker Carlson is a gigantic name in news. What are the odds that Newsmax decides, you know what? I want to see how many people we can loot. We can loot and pillage from the Fox network. Let's hire Tucker. Or OAN does it. Or who knows who does it. Any other cable network that wants to drag Fox over and drag Tucker over so they can get some of those Fox viewership. As much as I think what they did was immoral when it comes to the Dominion case, what Fox did and tried to lie to their audience, right? That incentive of lying to your audience and getting those viewers and bringing in those viewers and looting some of the viewership from Fox, which they were afraid of losing if they didn't lie. That still exists. They can do that and they can make money. There's also nothing stopping Tucker Carlson from like making a YouTube channel and trying to do it freelance and just pumping his stuff out directly out into the open. And then there's nobody to stop and regulate him. Not that Fox News was stopping him and regulating him at all anyway, since he could go on his network and just say Ukraine has nuclear weapons, right? I mean, at least George Bush put a little effort into it. He went to the UN and did a song and dance. Tucker Carlson just blathered it out on his network. Seems like nobody stopped him. So maybe he says, look, even though they didn't give me all of that censorship at the network, now I can take complete creative control with my own staff and make all the money directly to me. I can open a Tucker Carlson Patreon, a Tucker Carlson Substack, a Tucker Carlson SoundCloud, Tucker Carlson Rumble, Tucker Carlson Twitch. Not necessarily saying that he would be on these platforms forever. I'm sure some of them would probably end up banning him considering the type of behavior he engages in. If he does it more centric, if he tries to center his work more on these platforms and goes even more off the rails. But who knows? Tucker Carlson has just gone off of Fox. It's a gigantic story, and we're just gonna have to wait and see for what Tucker has to say, because for now, seems like it's the first time he shut his mouth since 2009. My goodness, man. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Tucker is outie, man. This is gigantic, right? Like, we all realize, like, this is crazy, right? This is wild. I never thought they'd do it. I never thought they would have like some level of self-preservation at the network. I never thought they would have the cojones to actually sit down and be like, look, maybe it's not a smart business decision to be getting in lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit because our name, our main like network host can't stop accusing politicians of being like devil rapists or something. My goodness. Pretty wild stuff. What do you guys think of this? Why do you guys think Tucker Carlson was kicked off the network? Let me get your guys' opinions. I want to see. Tucker is the scapegoat. Keeps heat off Fox execs. True, I could see that. I'm betting Tucker goes to Rumble. That's where his buddy Glenn Greenwald is. I don't know if he goes to Rumble, because as much as Rumble like would allow him to do whatever he wants, and I'm sure he'll have a account on Rumble, YouTube is a bigger platform with a bigger audience, and Tucker Carlson's show on Fox was able to broadcast on YouTube. So what would stop him from doing that? I think Tucker is big enough to start his own show. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, if Tucker Carlson started a podcast, like a Joe Rogan style or some type of like Steven Crowder style show, I'm sure he would make a ton of money. I don't know, man. I wonder what Ailes is thinking. This is wild. Hey, man, 787 million. That could be what he's thinking. That's what I think is the main motivator. Also, Tucker will probably not pull that many people to wherever he goes. People watch him because he is on the prime slot on Fox. Otherwise, he would just go off and become largely irrelevant, unless if he goes extremely wacky on YouTube. Okay. So, while it is true that he was the prime slot on Fox, and that obviously contributed to his success, he was also a fantastic propagandist. Absolutely fantastic propagandist. He got better ratings than the people before him. He got better ratings than the people before him. You just can compare it to that. He was the #1 name in cable news. #1. If he was the #1 name in cable news, he must be doing something right. But putting all that aside, even if he takes a large portion of the audience with him, even if some of this is contributed to by his good propaganda skills and the fact that he's good at creating good lies for television, that doesn't mean that he still can't make a decent audience. But he's never gonna hit the same viewership that he did before. This feels like the peak. We could have just seen the peak of Tucker Carlson. It could just be downhill from here. Nothing stopping him. Like it for the rest. And I think some people don't realize how much Tucker Carlson dominated Fox. If you went on to the Fox app, I don't know if any of you guys ever went to the Fox app. I had the Fox app. I actually was even paying for it so I could access all their content. #1, because they had cops and, cops, bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when you come for you? And the other thing, and this is the main thing, I like to listen to the type of content that's produced on the American right in this country. Well, I say this country while I'm in Ukraine, but in the United States. The same reason why I listen to Russian propaganda in the United States. Not saying they're comparable. And he was not just the primetime slot. He was also a lot of the other slots where he had his own style documentaries produced on the Fox network. He had his own podcast where he'd bring on wacky people from all around the world, some crazy characters to go talk on a show for hours at a time, which was essentially a podcast that shows that he could do pretty well in the podcast format. So it's not just he had the primetime slot. I mean, the dude, if it was just that, then he would just have him in the primetime slot. But he had him in a bunch of other slots too, because he was a good personality for viewership, not a good personality for actually pushing out news.